Today we'll be listening to Nothing But a Quilt. As we read, we're going to be listening for our target vocabulary words. Let's begin by repeating the words after me. I say, you say. I say delicious, you say. I say duplicated, you say. I say die, you say. I say sharpening, you say. I say spinning, you say. I say strands, you say. I say weave, you say. I say yarn, you say. Our target vocabulary words this week directly correlate with our words that are needed for understanding both our main story, this vocabulary read aloud, our leveled readers, and our extended text this week. It's very important that you understand what each of these words mean. So listen carefully as you listen to Nothing But a Quilt and see if you're able to hear your words, repeat them when you do, and think about what they mean based on the context clues, the words around the word used. So listen carefully as we read Nothing But a Quilt. Many people dream of getting rich or becoming famous in the blink of an eye. It usually doesn't happen that quickly, though. It took many years for one group of artists to become famous. The Gee's Bend quilters never imagined they were artists. These humble women thought their artwork was nothing but a quilt. They just stitched together scraps of fabric to make blankets so they could keep their families warm. Their quilts were never ordinary, though. These quilters used a special way of quilting that was invented by African slaves. Before the Civil War, African slaves in southern plantations worked from sunup to sundown. The women cooked delicious meals for wealthy white farmers and cleaned their grand houses. They also spent hours sharpening scissors and spinning thread for making the farmers fancy clothes. Using their skills to weave, find cloth, or sew beautiful things for their own families was usually forbidden. Slaves had to make do with leftovers. To make the clothes and goods for their own households, slave women used whatever they could find. They collected feed sacks, rags, and small strands or threads of yarn. They used dye or paint to color the strips. Then they stitched the different colored pieces together. The shapes and the colors of these string quilts reminded the slaves of designs on fabrics from their homelands in Africa. The quilters of Gee's Bend never went to art school or to museums, so they never saw other people's designs. Their ideas for designs came from events that happened around them and from nature's wonders. One woman sewed a starry Milky Way quilt. Another made a memory quilt from her dead husband's denim overalls. Even after all the slaves were freed, the quilters of Gee's Bend kept on making quilts. Their daughters and granddaughters kept quilting too. One day, an art collector came to Gee's Bend and bought some of the unusual quilts. Soon, the women's work was hanging in museums. Today, their original designs, and even duplicated copies, sell for thousands of dollars. To the quilters, this adventure seems like a dream. Even if the fame and money vanishes tomorrow, they say they'll still love making beautiful quilts. In the picture, you can see a group of the Gee's Bend women making a quilt. What is the first thing you remember hearing about the quilters in this story? We're going to practice with our vocabulary words and learn a bit more about Gee's Bend as you continue along.